My name is Deanna Dillard, and I'm from Clinton, Mississippi, and I'm 36 years old and a mother of two. Well, in July of 2001, my son was 3 months old, and at the time we lived in Alabama. My husband was in the military, in the Air Force, and was having the initial symptoms of some fibroid issues, some heavy bleeding, and just not really feeling too good about my body, and it's like something's just not going right. And was diagnosed then with heavy menorrhagic symptoms, and was given the option of doing just a simple procedure, what was called ablation. I said, well, okay, we'll consider that. And about 3 months later, I believe 2 months later, that's when 9/11 took place. And my husband was, like I said, in the military, and life happened right then, and life stopped. 2 years later, it's time for us to move. We're going to move to Mississippi, move back. And at that time, I was like, my symptoms are getting worse, and my physician said, well, let's go ahead and consider a hysterectomy. Are you finished with children? Do you want to have any more? I said, I think I'm through, but I am young. And that was the first thing in my mind said, I'm too young to have a hysterectomy, but I'm also too young and too active to have this quality of life, no quality of life, of having 3 weeks of every month being cooped up in a blanket with a heating pad, and just there was more to life than that. So 2003, decided to go ahead and just do the ablation, and let's just see what happens. And it did work. We then moved in September, in 06, I'm sorry. In September of 06, we moved to Mississippi, and then picked up life in Mississippi. And then the end of 06, started having symptoms again. And this time it was worse. I had the worst migraine headaches could ever imagine. My cycles were just extremely heavy, and there was just a constant decrease of my quality of life, and my life stopped literally those 3 weeks of every month. And as you know, there's 4 weeks in a month, so I was only, I had to plan my life around my cycles, and that's not normal. And so, of course, moving back to Mississippi, I got in touch with my gynecologist there and explained, what my symptoms were. And she said, well, you know what? I just completed some training with Vinci, and let me tell you about it. And I was like, well, this does sound really promising. How many have you done? And of course, she just completed her training, and I think had just done 2 procedures. And I was like, well, okay, let's see. and I'm all into new technology, and I'm all about the cutting edge of things, and want to research every little bit that I can. And so I felt good about it. So in July of 08, I went back and said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to be done with this. I also had a prolapsed bladder that I was having symptoms with that. And so I was like, while you're in there, let's go ahead and take care of everything else and have one surgical procedure, be in there once. And I've been like a new woman ever since. And that was in September of 08. So I'm right at a year post-op, and been remarkable. My sister had a traditional hysterectomy. She had the incision and had all of that, everything removed, including her ovaries. And I was able to hear her story, see her experience, see what her recovery process was, and knew immediately that's not what I wanted. Immediately after, I could tell I was a little sore. I remember the nurses constantly saying, okay, how do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? And I was like, 7 or 8. And they would go, really? really? Or is that all? And I'm going, am I supposed to be worse? and I'm looking at my husband, I'm going, am I supposed to be feeling any worse than this? And what's it supposed to be? And of course I had my little pain pump, and I had not been asked to stand up yet. The first time I stood up, it shot up to a 10. And I'm saying, please find my morphine pump, find my pump switch. And I only had to use that 3 times in a one-night stay, one day. And by day after the first day, I just felt like I had done probably about 1,000 sit-ups. Just felt like I'd kind of been punched a little bit, you know, and okay, this is not too bad. And by day 2, day 3, I'm feeling pretty good. I could tell I had my limitations on how long I could sit up and when I needed to lie down. But I really felt good considering what my body had gone through for the surgery, which took about 6 hours, because in addition to the hysterectomy, I also had the bladder suspension done. And so that in itself took another 1.5 hours to complete. So I had those, that set of recovery to deal with as well. But overall, it was, I find truly amazing that my recovery process was so quick. I stayed in the hospital less than 24 hours and was given the clear to get up and move around, go back to work in 2 weeks if I wanted to. And then at 6 weeks, and also, let me back up, we had a Disney World trip planned for later in November. And I was like, oh, I think I'm going to be ready. Oh, I was up there on every ride. And he's like, you know, this is nice. You wouldn't have been able to enjoy this trip had you not had your surgery. And I said, you're right. And our marital life is just wonderful now. We've been married 17 years in August. And he's even made the comment to me that, you know, I'm a new woman. He's like, you have changed so much. He said, the surgery has changed you, it's changed your life, and it's truly amazing. Yeah, it's definitely it's surpassed my expectations, really. To see now, a year later, I'm 25 pounds lighter. I am more active now than I have ever been. I'm more involved with my children. We swim together, we cycle together. But even my daughter, she's like, Mama, I want to be active like you are when I'm your age. I'm like, so that's pretty good.